Wassail! So, I've been asking Spirit to help us to find a way to better appreciate our natal charts and the astrology. And so I've been gifted with a possible solution. We need to see whether it's simple or not. I'm going to try and make it simple so that we can all follow it, but you will want your birth charts, so run and get them, and if you've got one, get yourself a big notepad, because you kind of want a journal for this. So run and get some bits. I was trying to trick you into thinking that the machine had got stuck. The machine, the pause button, YouTube got stuck. So, astrology. No, let's do bells. Let's do bells. So there was real clarity with the first bell, and then the second bell went, oh, my head hurts. Like, it will hurt as you try to dig your way through this, but we're going to do it in a very easy, simple way. The only problem is that before we can do the easy, simple bit, we've just got to go on a slightly bigger journey with our birth charts. So we need to learn how to understand our birth charts, because it's no good saying Neptune in Pisces, because that doesn't mean anything. It just says Neptune in Pisces. It doesn't have any characteristics or sensations or feelings or familiarity. So we need to build up a picture of how we interpret our birth chart. So you are your birth chart. You are the eyes that witness the world around you from the perspective of when you came into the world, when you were born, when there were planetary alignments in a certain formation. So I want you to imagine you're standing in the middle of a giant astrological clock, and it's a huge circle, public space, and all around the edge of the circle there's a great big crescent, well, not a crescent because it's a full circle, of houses, dolls' houses, and they've got a door in the middle of each house and two windows either side, and each house is an astrological sign. Okay, so we're going to be looking at Gemini in full as such, and we're going to look at it so that we begin to build a picture of understanding. So each of the houses, let's go to Gemini first. So the house, how does it look from the outside? Have a little dig around online. What does the house of Gemini mean? Because in the astrological clock, obviously the astrological year starts with Aries. So this will be house 3. And I'm just going to show you how easy it is to do. We're going to type in House Gemini, and we're going to go to the Wikipedia page for ease. We're going to swing down third house in this lovely list, which you can't see, sorry. So this is communication, distribution and generosity, intelligence, development, siblings, locomotion and transportation. It's a house of sharing, and it's to do with siblings rather than a fraternity, siblings. So it's also to do with polarity. So it's a house with two sides. It's an air sign, so we need to consider the fact that it's to do with thoughts. And we need to think about the fact that Gemini gives us a chance to look at the dark and the light in something, to separate everything out. So that's the idea of the house. And when you look through the windows of this particular house, you need to kind of consider what kind of interior would your doll's house have in Gemini? What kind of decoration? Maybe get some magazines and cut out, pieces of furniture or wallpapers. Build a mood board that describes for you just what's in this first reception room in Gemini. What kind of objects would they have in there? What kind of chairs would they have in there? Because just behind the first reception room, there'll be a kind of a bedroom, and the bedroom is where you look at a deeper aspect of of the actual house itself. Now, also part of what we need to think about is which planet rules the actual sign. So Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is a very gender fluid, very communicative. So you need to dig around now and have a look at Gemini. It's what we call the rulership, which is part of the essential dignities, which is the relationship that different planets have as they move into different houses, and whether they're happy there or whether they're sad. It's like a street, and everyone's moving around the street and they're having various parties, or they're staying in each other's houses. How do they feel? Is Jupiter comfortable being inside the house of Gemini? Is it somewhere they want to be? So all of these things need to develop over time. But to begin with, we're looking at the house Gemini, and we need to consider the fact that it's the natural home of Mercury. And so you need to dig into Mercury to help you to decorate your little doll's house of Gemini. So we do that to begin with. Dig around, search around, find aspects, write them down. Write down positive and negative attributes. Just try and do some from the top of your head, then go online and look and see what grows, and see the aspects that you have, the good and the bad. The bad are often projections of our own inner self that we can't come to terms with. So there's lots of ways of looking at this. But the additional difference that we have to look into now is Mars. Because Mars is the planet that is currently in Gemini. Now, the best way to look at planets, like when I said have a look at Mercury, is to kind of create a character for them, make them real, flesh them out. An easy way of doing that is to cast your favourite actors and actresses or celebrities into the roles, because it often helps you then to get a general idea of the character. So you want to think well, you want to think hard about who you might cast as Mars, and how would they react when they get inside House Gemini. Now, bear in mind that House Gemini is air and fire's moved in there. So let's just rewind slightly and have a look at Mars's recent movements, because Mars entered its own house, which is Aries, the first house of the astrological year, on the 27th of June 2020. And Mars, when it got home to its own house, it stayed there a long time. It stayed there all the way through some retrograding until the 22nd of the 2nd, 2021. So just recently it went into Taurus, and it's already moved into Gemini. So it didn't stay in Taurus long, because when it's at home, everything's lovely. It's its own house. It's comfortable in there. It refuels itself. It recharges, because any fire sign will know that its next move is into, from its own sign of fire, into Earth, that dampening field. Earth coming in and stopping the energy of the fire. So it spent a long time there, Mars. It rushed around, it got excited, it thought about all the enthusiasm it has for what's coming, and then it ran smack bang into Taurus the Bull. Fixed, earth, immovable energy. And now it's moved into Gemini. Now, Gemini is very much air, getting the fire all kind of excited and heated up. And since I did the reading just the other day on the void of moon tunnels, I've been getting this enormous attention being drawn to seismic activity, magma, volcanoes, and it's just interesting that there is some very strange energy going on at the moment. Now, I would rationally argue that this is because for 200 years, while we were in the Earth epoch, with the great conjunction moving between the three Earth signs over and over again, every 20 years meeting in an Earth sign, it was creating dense, heavy energy. Now, we've moved into air, and it's interesting that in Iceland, near Reykjavik, there's a peninsula that's had recently a lot of new seismic activity. The ground has lifted 10 centimetres. In the last week, there's been something like 17,000 swarm earthquakes taking place there. There's this real sense that as the earth frequency lightens and air comes in, magma's on the move. And the last time that there was a volcanic eruption in this part of Iceland was about 800 years ago in the last air epoch. And when it went off, it kind of oozed for about 200 years on and off. There's also been some very big seismic activity under the water in New Zealand way, and they had 3 big earthquakes yesterday of like 7.1 to 8.1, but it seems to me, and I'm not a seismologist, but usually an earthquake seems to pop and then you get aftershocks that are weaker. This has been having big shakes and then another big shake and then a higher big shake. So there's definitely some kind of energy going on that is tied in with Mars being in Gemini. I just feel like there's fissures under the water, magma, a movement of fire now that Mars has moved into Gemini. It's really opening the polarity and driving through that space. And it's an uncomfortable energy. So what we're going to do with these readings, we're going to ask this deck, how is House Gemini feeling at the moment? I hope you can hear this. I've forgotten to put my microphone on. It's there on the floor. I'm not going to move it on the floor. It's on the table. So we need to, I'm not taking any of these because I need to get this deck into the mood. So we're going to look at how happy right now is House Gemini. Because one would assume that in an air epoch, the air signs are pretty happy to be in an energy where their frequency is enhanced. So let's ask, well, one's fallen out, but it didn't feel like I was asking. Sacred divinity, 2 paths ahead. That's not really. Although 2 paths, Gemini, there's a clearance, but it just didn't feel like it was part of the reading. Oh, you see, now I'm getting double cards. But it's powerful energy. It's 55 manifestation and 33 soul fragments. Balance will be restored. This is 5-dimensional master numbering and 3-dimensional master numbering. There's some kind of 5th-dimensional manifestation that is now capable through the increased energy of Gemini but how it's to do with reaching balance. It's almost like the energy of Gemini is asking us to tear apart the two sheets of paper and create a space in between in which to assess ourselves. But we can't do that unless we peel the paper apart and see what's written that's been hidden from us because the two sheets of paper were stuck together. So we're peeling it apart to look at characteristics and energies that are taking place in Gemini at the moment. So we will add some tarot to this frequency. I am getting this sense, look, it's volcanic. I am really picking up volcanic. This is manifestation, boom, bang, like a massive, huge eruption. And then there's something about the top of this guy's head that is like a volcanic eruption. Air has reached into the earth and it's fiddling around with the tectonic plates and creating some kind of unblocking, some kind of flow, some kind of change in the frequency. So it's dramatic stuff. So Mars, so the House Gemini, what would you like to say about the mood right now of House Gemini? What would you like to say about the mood of House Gemini? What would you like to say about the mood of House Gemini? I'm going to ask for some more, but we'll start with these two. So we have the High Priestess, immediately being drawn to this polarity that she exists between. The polarity that exists between the twins, between the different spaces, the dark and the light, the yin and the yang. She's pointing at a book. She's pointing at information, but she's looking at this information. She's put down her scroll. The scroll feels like that's the holy, esoteric information, and that's been put down. There's a feather at the front, a green feather, drawing my attention to the air energy frequency of Gemini, and the fact that that's strong frequency at the moment. There's a sphinx behind her, which always brings in that notion of there being a riddle locked within your House Gemini. Now look, Gemini, you may have nothing in Gemini. You may have an empty house there. Or you may have different planets that you could dig into that might contain this riddle. The fact that there's nothing in there might be that that's part of your riddle, that you can't seem to find the energy within your chart to separate these spaces and look inside them. It doesn't mean you can't, but we're looking for tools to help you access it. And it could be that Mercury would give you clues, because Mercury is the ordinary ruler. So where's your Mercury? Where was it when it was born? Or it could be that Mars has got this clue at the moment. But so we're opening with High Priestess, are like this opening polarity, and then solving the riddle. It's the Sphinx has become real. She's able to move the journey forwards. And there is something about the way around the edge of the stone are the four letters T-A-R-O, tarot, and then when you go to the original T, you're back and you've completed the word. There's something about completing some part of your soul fragment that's hidden from you, that's a bit of a riddle at the moment, that will unfold in some way. So, also, it's two major arcana cards. This is big energy because, as I say, we're in an air epoch. This is House Gemini. It's got big energy. It's amplified. It's a manifesting energy. It's a soul fragment correcting frequency. So what do we have here? We have two cards. We have the Prince of Discs and we have the Six of Swords. So the energy I'm getting from this is being stopped before moving on to the journey. So it's that energy again, that notion that House Gemini is asking you to pause and have a good look around the room. Have a good look around the room. What do you see in the room? You see, there's a very much a sense within Gemini, in House Gemini, of there being a polarity. So you might walk in and the room in this doll's house that you're in looks incredibly tidy, and then you look in the corner and you notice something dropped on the floor, because that's the other side of Gemini that hasn't left it all tidy and clean. If you walk inside the bedroom, there's probably a filthy mess in there, but you need to explore the space and begin to build up your idea of how House Gemini looks. In those two rooms, reception and bedroom, how does it look? So now you're looking for that riddle. We need to look at what Mars feels like when it enters House Gemini. Is Mars happy there? Because under essential dignities, they're not dignitaries, well they are, but they're dignities. Mars is ruled by Aries and Scorpio, and it's exalted in Capricorn, and it really doesn't like being in Cancer. Having dug around myself for a little while, I feel that Mars is not overly comfortable in Gemini, but we'll see what the cards say about what Mars feels. There's something about that widening polarity. It's like Mars doesn't really want to look right down deep at its fury in case that triggers it to kick off. So yes, illusion. It's funny, when I was testing these out, this is the card that came out for Mars last time. Because I was trying to see whether they worked. This is being in a house that confuses. Mars doesn't get the Gemini look, but the Gemini look fuels some kind of fury or anger within Mars. So it's about breaking through the illusions, breaking through the parts of your divine fury that you can't bring yourself to look at. Mars is in Aquarius and Mars is reacting accordingly. So let's have a little look. What does Mars feel like at the moment? What does Mars feel like at the moment? So we have Two of Wands and Three of Pentacles. So this feels like Mars. This feels like Mars, and Mars has control of its fiery power. It's gone in and it's completely controlled. But behind it there's a lion roaring, and lion is ego. It's like deep within Mars's energy at the moment. It's looking around that room with a little bit of kind of shock horror. And yet it's working on the structures, earth structures, changing things, hammering down. There's this real sense of Mars not listening, is what I want to say. Mars is not listening to the house rules. it's got in there, and there's a sense of a righteous anger, some kind of, it's looking for clarity, it's looking for this airy Epoch energy, Mars, and it's walked right into the hornet's nest. It's in Gemini, and suddenly there's almost too much clarity coming in to Mars. And Mars is beginning to witness things, see things, understand things that Mars didn't really want to look at. And they're rising to the surface. So just one more card, please, on that subject. Oh, yeah, look. This air energy is fueling Mars. Mars is getting ready to turn. The worm is turning. And it's about plugging that clarity, this change of frequency into the earth. So taking hold of truths and cutting into the earth to release this confusion that Mars has arrived with. Mars is looking for clarity in Gemini. It's getting a bit angry. So the next part of it is, what mischief? I'm not taking those two because they jumped out too quick. Let's rifle them. What mischief will Mars get up to in House Gemini? What mischief will Mars get up to in House Gemini? What mischief will Mars get up to in House Gemini? It's not behaving. I want a single card. Come on, please. You worked so beautifully the other day when I tested these readings out. Oh, see, it doesn't. It's almost saying it doesn't want to reveal, but it will. What does Mars, what mischief can Mars get up to in Gemini? That's 3 cards again. I just want one. Well, we've got 2, but here's the thing. Actually, we've got 3. But it's given me that card again that came out right near the beginning for Gemini. But 2 fell, 1 went hidden. 1 was hidden inside. 1 was the riddle. What's the riddle? Boom! Fire. What's the mischief? I would say the mischief is volcanic or tectonic, but it somehow involves magma and the rising up of... Look, I want to say, like, you know, a mountain has a volcano has animal spirits, it has magical spirits, it has, if it's an underwater fissure, it will have undines, it will have its own energetic representation, and there's something about this wanting to just burn out, like a sense of divine anger, but it's not, it's just a natural process of releasing the fires within. And they are fires, they're emotional fires, they're energies that want to kind of change our relationship to the natural world in some way, to bring our attention to the natural world in a way that our governments and leaders are just not paying attention to. It's like the earth wants to say, you need to listen to me now. That's this Mars fire being swelled up inside House Gemini. So, what do we have? What's the mischief? The fire. We have the Page of Pentacles. This is about Earth. Earth has had a reset. Earth is no longer the dominant frequency. And so Earth's energy is dropping in its power, in its accumulation, in its greed, in its money generating. It's almost like while the energy of Earth was heightened, the Earth was so overexcited to give of itself, to be, almost destructed by humanity. It loved going, look, you can pull this out of me, you can turn this into that, and that energy is changing. So we're getting page energy, because this is like a gentle new frequency for Earth, and it hasn't come out of its darkness yet. It's a new growing understanding. And here we have the Eight of Coins. This is talking about, again, because this is Earth energy. I've not been having Earth energy cards. Someone pointed that out the other day. Since I've been waiting to do Earth energy, and they've not been coming through because the world's frequency's been changing and it feels like it needed to settle into something new. So this is old Eight of Pentacles, working hard, building a life. Now suddenly what you're building is something much more airy, because we're in Gemini. So and it's almost like you've built a new character, as if you're also returning to a sense of being a page, being young in the natural world and witnessing the changes. And it comes with the Queen of Wands. She is, honestly, just recently, she's just been coming across as the energy of fire within the earth, because she's very much in the earth, but she's this fire that moves through the earth with much greater fluidity. She's able now to sit in a meditative phase and just to allow all the energy frequencies of fire to move with a much greater fluidity. Interesting. So what can we expect? What can we expect from Mars and Gemini? So that's the mischief they're capable of. What can we expect? What can we expect from Mars in Gemini? Interesting, a purification. A purification of fiery emotions. This card is very cool. It's interesting in the other reading that the Ten of Cups in the off deck came out as fiery emotions, fire meeting water, but it's a purifying process, purifying us of our normal anger. It's almost like it's something much bigger than us. This big Mars energy is about to unfold, but actually it will reset our emotional language in some kind of way, resetting our emotional language. So let's just have a little look at that. So we have 5. Oh no, that wasn't the second one. Where's the second one? There. So in this deck, more than any other deck, this card doesn't come across as divine masculinity. This card comes across as restrictive authority. So we need to put down all the burdens of structures in the real world, of all the things that are used to keep us restricted, to keep us in illusion, is the frequency that's about to be taken off. It's like we're about to unburden ourselves of some kind of restrictive energy, because look, trying to get, this is Mars, is just trying to get inside that house Gemini. It's moving towards it. It's got this great big bundle of stress and worry, but also it's wood, it's wands. It's something a little bit like Mars almost wants to go into Gemini and torch the entire doll's house. That's not very nice. But it is this energy. I'm getting this on the back. This notion of when fire was under the influence of earth, it just couldn't flow. Ideas couldn't ideas couldn't take hold and unfold and become something of great interest that would help to move yourself or others or the world into a new space, because this energy of heightened earth was just putting the fire out. The fire is coming. I know we're in air, but air excites fire. And then we have the Seven of Wands. So the fire, the moment before the fire, and then this energy of after the change. There's very much taking hold of a single idea to move forwards. It's like being within, so I'm getting this frequency of polarity again. At first, Mars is feeling a little bit ill at ease, but it's beginning to see how the energy of House Gemini is actually freeing it up, is refueling it, is charging up the frequency, and actually Mars is beginning to feel very empowered. So there is a real notion of being empowered, but somehow we need to spot a pattern. So what I'm going to suggest is, again, look at where Mars is on your birth chart. What house is it in? What does that mean? Look online and look up, maybe your Mars is in Scorpio. Look at what Mars in Scorpio means. It's another of its exalted signs, but that's more that fiery water emotions, passions. So there's something less, there's something, I don't want to say less fiery, I want to say more erudite about it now. It's like now it can see clarity, and it's been seeking clarity, it's been trying to solve a riddle. So you're looking for where your Mars is in your chart and what Mars means in your natal. Is it in a house where it feels happy? Is your Mars in a space with other groups of planets that irritate it? Is your Mars somewhere comfortable? Because really, in order to grow, we're trying to seek where our planets and the house alignments create something that's not comfortable. Reading your astrology and your natal chart is not looking for all the wonderful cosmic things that the universe just wants to offer to you, because that's a really boring life path. What you're looking for is complicated, difficult energies that are your shadows that you can work with and change to bring more energetic movement towards being in balance and towards the kind of, if I'm honest, the best aspects of your chart are hidden. They're points in the future where alignments will take place that will help you to overcome certain blockages. And so at the moment we're really dealing with anger, fire, how you behave with anger. Are you good with anger? Do certain things trigger your anger? But we're looking at this Mars because Gemini's really increasing that tension, and it's like a cork waiting to pop. So I'm going to do more of these. I am going to try and do the Earth tarot workshop as well, but it just, as I say, I'm not getting a sense of Earth energy at the moment. I'm kind of pausing slightly to wait for it to come in its natural time. We're going to look at Pluto in Capricorn and see how that gets on, and then we're going to look at the other houses that currently have planets in. So there won't necessarily be all the empty houses at the moment, but we'll see whether we can garner information from those as we move through. But to begin with, we're going to be looking at the places where parties are happening. So Neptune's got a bit of a party in it at the moment. It's very much busy, full of planets all kind of jostling around. So then we begin to have to cast the characters for the planets, and you have to see how they get on with each other when they're in houses. Is someone comfortable in that house? Is someone less comfortable in that house? So what we're beginning to do is to see ourselves in the middle of this doll's house circle. Today, we're just looking at Gemini and preparing our thoughts on House Gemini, Mercury, its natural ruler, and then we're looking at Mars. Mars is usually in Aries, so you might want to have a look at Aries because it's been there. It's not going to get there for a long while, so it might be worth looking at Mars in Aries and Mars in Taurus and then Mars in Gemini. It's how you find the time to build up the stories, so the door numbers that exist within this place, the characters as you cast them and begin to realise, are they young, are they old, what's the kind of energy, what's the positive, what's the negative. But we're looking within our own chart so that we're beginning to build an understanding of the frequency we started out in, because all astrology is about your journey through life. So it's always linked to the current aspects and how they work in your chart. So look, I'm hoping that will help some of you to better understand a little bit about how your birth chart can unfold. You need to make your birth chart real, and you need to stop seeing it as just this notion of words that mean very little. It's very difficult, astrology. It has so many old-fashioned, archaic words that are used to describe things, and many astrologers throw the words out and they don't really realise that many of us just don't have the language for it. So for the moment, you're building and decorating House Gemini, and it's being decorated because Mars has arrived, and you want to see how Mars feels while it's staying in House Gemini. So I hope that helps. I'm going to do others, as I said. Have a beautiful day. I feel a bit Mars messy today. Mars feels really alive. I want to say Mars feels reflected. Do you know what? I'm just going to do a little thing here. I just want to know a little bit more about Mars's mood. I know it's a bit of a bonus that I didn't intend to do, but there's something. I'm so aware of Mars all the time at the moment. Mars is going to take a wee while to get all the way around to join the stellium, so it's still very much behaving in its own. That one's. What would you like to say, Mars? What are you helping us with, Mars? Not necessarily what you're doing to the world, but how are you important to us? Because Mars in my sound healing is about earthing. It's first chakra, it's rage, it's all those energies that help to. So I kind of want to say that there are points when fury enables us to engage in the world, even if it's only because we feel like the world is being disrespected. That anger, that divine rage will rise in us and help us to connect to the world. So we have the luminous warrior and the staff, 32 and 51, which is kind of 5-6. So it's interesting in that these voids that we're currently under seem to be helping us to activate this. What is this card? It's the echo of the solar eclipse that took place on the 14th of December. It's the solar eclipse of the luminous warrior. So that energy is active, and that energy will keep rising all the way through until we move down towards the next solar eclipse, which is on the 4th of June. No, the 10th of June, 4th of December. Sorry, get that right. So we're under the influence of the eclipse of the luminous warrior, and it's trying to affect our standing, our power. It's also working on us at a DNA level as we correct our understanding, as our emotions grow up. It's creating a new frequency to allow old genetic traumas to leave our body. So there's a real sense of growing up emotionally, not taking any shit anymore. What else would Mars like to say about its current journey? What else would Mars like to say about what it's currently up to? Thunder. It's up to big stuff. Big stuff. It's thundering into the lower world. This is damaged child territory. This is the place that the luminous warrior has to seek out and transform. Because this is bad thought patterns that we allow to rule our lives, fears that we allow to rule our lives. If you grow up emotionally, you don't have fears because you become fearless. You know, I do a lot of shadow work, so when I see dark cards, they make me laugh because I'm fearless about facing these things. But when we grow up emotionally, then the lower world distortions can no longer affect us because we've been there. We've been there, we've seen it, we've transformed it, and we've come back and we've realised that the energy of fear is a distortion of the self-love in the sacral that takes place. It's luminous, it is very much a light energy, but that light energy has to be brought into the world because this is second chakra and Mars is talking about first chakra. So what happens when we earth our luminous warrior into the earth frequency? What happens when we bring our luminous warrior energy right down to the root chakra? So we have the arrow. That's also it's in one of the readings that I did the other day. It's in the void passageway that opens into Sagittarius. This is that energy of the tension being formed in Sagittarius's bow and then shooting off the arrow, the fire, the energy, the thunder that comes rushing forwards is being brought along. And then we have the beloved. If you can earth yourself as a luminous warrior, you bring your heart into a frequency of love, so there is no fear, and that activates within us our mystical shaman energy. That's that energy to control and work with air epoch energies, to have control over the movement of thoughts and air, because you have a beloved clarity that's coming. So that's all very lovely. Let's see what gives in the next one. Have a beautiful day, everybody. And as I always say, please write to each other on here. I am trying to answer as many things as I can, but I am still waking some days in the frequency of grief, and I must walk this walk at the moment with my mother and begin to integrate and understand the relationship of losing the womb that created me in the physical world. So just bear with me, and I am still here, and I am spending every hour digging into ways that we can work together and help us all to grow. So, wassail beautiful people.